Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, found himself in a bizarre situation. One day, he was grumbling at his guitarist Gordon Stoker about recording a terrible song, this all feeling, saying, "What am I supposed to do with this piece of shit?" Yet he sang it obediently, knowing deep down that complaining wouldn't change anything. Behind closed doors, Elvis knew his managers and publishers were taking huge cuts from his earnings. But he wasn't business savvy enough to challenge them. He feared confrontation, unlike his manager, who loved money and control more than anyone. This wasn't the first time Elvis faced poor material. He knew bad songs and bad movies hurt his reputation, yet he kept making deals that left little room for quality. It wasn't just the money, it was the loss of artistic integrity. But speaking up meant going against the tide, something Elvis wasn't prepared to do. When Hal Wallis, a studio executive, pushed back on more demands, Elvis simply sought other studios. In a 1961 deal, he secured a lucrative contract with MGM, agreeing to take $500,000 per movie, plus a percentage of profits, while the Aberbox retained control of the songs. It was a win for Elvis, but at what cost to the quality of his work? Elvis wasn't blind to the damage these deals caused. He knew he was agreeing to poor scripts, but his fear of confrontation kept him silent. It was a situation no other star would tolerate. Imagine Paul Newman or Steve McQueen accepting such terms, yet Elvis felt trapped. He admitted he did things against his beliefs, locked into a contract he didn't fully understand. His lifestyle, lavish homes, and entourage demanded funds, possibly pushing him into accepting these deals willingly, despite knowing better. Outside of filming, Elvis's life was a mix of leisure and triviality. He spent time in Bel Air with friends, often indulging in childish pranks, like watching a chimpanzee named Scatter play pranks on women. His free time was filled with games, parties, and visits to Las Vegas, where he'd watch acts he admired. Yet despite this carefree existence, Elvis's heart often wandered back to Priscilla, a young girl he had met while in Germany, and to Anita, his longtime girlfriend back home. In 1961, Elvis chose not to return home for Christmas, feeling estranged from his family and angry about changes at his home, Graceland. Instead, he celebrated in Las Vegas with friends and family. Despite the success of his songs like "Can't Help Falling in Love," which topped charts worldwide, Elvis wasn't truly happy. His thoughts often turned to Priscilla, whose youth, beauty, and innocence captivated him. Their long-distance calls fueled his fascination. For Elvis, Priscilla represented more than just youth and beauty. There was an intangible connection that made her special. Elvis's relationship with Priscilla Beaulieu was complex, driven by more than just physical attraction. It was a connection rooted in a shared sense of youth and the allure of something new. As months passed without regular contact, Elvis's fascination only grew, highlighting the powerful hold Priscilla had on his thoughts and heart. After his mother's passing, Elvis found himself alone in a big city, worried about his career and feeling lonely. He had always found it easier to talk to girls than to boys, and one girl in particular, Priscilla, reminded him of his mother. He felt a deep connection with her and began to share his music with her, sending her records and eventually asking her and her parents to visit him in Los Angeles. He promised to take good care of her, and after months of waiting, Priscilla finally agreed. While preparing for his next movie in Hawaii, Elvis recorded a song called "Good Luck Charm." This song resonated with him deeply. It was about holding onto memories of someone who was gone, much like he was holding onto his mother's memory. The song's lyrics spoke to him personally, especially the line about giving everything for a piece of someone you love. Elvis's emotions poured into his music, and he was known for underlining specific words in his song sheets to emphasize their meaning. His performance of "Good Luck Charm" demonstrated this deep belief in the song's message. In June 1962, Priscilla arrived in Los Angeles, greeted by Joe Esposito instead of Elvis at the airport. She was 17, almost grown up, but still seemed young to some people. Elvis was pleased to see her, but kept his emotions in check around his friends. Priscilla was worried about the legal age of consent in California, but Elvis reassured her he would take care of everything. Despite an agreement with Priscilla's parents, she didn't spend the first night alone with Elvis. They both knew the rules, but Priscilla was ready for a change. Over the next 2 weeks, Elvis introduced her to his lifestyle, which involved amphetamines and sleeping pills, common among his friends. Elvis didn't worry about the trust his parents had placed in him. He was living in a world of drugs and partying. Elvis gifted Priscilla a makeover, transforming her into what he thought was the perfect girlfriend for Vegas, glamorous and dressed in flashy clothes. However, this transformation also took away the innocence and freshness that initially drew him to her. Living in a world of excess, Priscilla began to see another side of Elvis. One day, while showing her some unreleased songs, she honestly shared her opinion, preferring his rock and roll music over the new demos. Elvis exploded, upset that she dared to share her thoughts on his music. It was a lesson for Priscilla. She was not to question Elvis, only the Colonel could do that. As Priscilla returned to Germany and Elvis went back to Memphis, tensions rose between him and Anita, who had also been replaced by Priscilla. Anita, feeling abandoned like Priscilla, left Graceland for good when Elvis refused to let her stay. Elvis was upset by her departure, but he quickly moved on, focusing on his next film, It Happened at the World's Fair. Despite the film's questionable script and songs, Elvis continued to support his manager's choices publicly. He told reporters that if he could entertain people with what he was doing, he shouldn't change it. In reality, though, he knew he wasn't being honest with himself or others. Elvis was excited about a big new chance to sing and perform. His song, Return to Sender, was very popular, putting him back at the top of music charts. He wanted to go on a big tour across 43 cities in the US in 1963, but things didn't go as planned. RCA, the company that managed his music, said no to a big tour because they didn't want to spend too much money up front. Elvis, proud and stubborn, refused to back down. This refusal cost him the chance, showing how his pride could sometimes get the best of him. Around this time, Priscilla, who had been staying at Graceland, arrived from Germany to spend Christmas with Elvis. Elvis promised her parents she would be safe and well taken care of, but he didn't keep these promises. When Priscilla complained of jet lag and couldn't sleep, Elvis gave her some medication to help her relax. It made her sleep for 2 days, missing Christmas altogether. This incident showed how Elvis often ignored advice and put his own rules first, even when it came to the well-being of those around him. Priscilla quickly adjusted to life at Graceland, though it was challenging. Elvis asked if she would like to live there permanently, and despite her parents' hesitation, she agreed. This decision meant she was essentially a secret, living under strict rules and always watched. She felt lonely and unsure of her role in this new life. Elvis even got her a car and took her to church, but she couldn't make real friends because of the secrets she had to keep. Elvis was careful about how the public saw him and Priscilla. When a journalist asked about them, Elvis brushed it off, saying they were just friends. He knew the local press loved him and would likely overlook any scandal. This careful balancing act continued as Elvis started dating Anne Margaret, an actress he met while filming Viva Las Vegas. He and Anne Margaret, nicknamed Thumper, quickly became close, unlike any previous relationship he had. He treated her as an equal, something new for him. However, back in Memphis, Priscilla felt left out and sad as she read about Elvis and Anne Margaret in the newspapers. Elvis lied to her about their time together, telling her Anne Margaret was just a friend who came over sometimes. Priscilla knew better but had to accept his words. During this time, Elvis was busy making movies. In Viva Las Vegas, he played a singer and racer, and he and Anne Margaret formed a strong bond both on and off screen. Elvis was free to be himself with Anne Margaret, treating her differently from how he treated Priscilla. Priscilla, aware of their relationship through newspapers, felt more and more isolated and confused about her place in Elvis's life. Elvis's actions showed a clear double standard. He treated Anne Margaret like an equal and a friend, while Priscilla was kept in the dark and treated differently. This division caused pain and confusion, especially for Priscilla, who longed for a normal life and understanding from the man who had become like a father to her. Through all this, Elvis kept his public image intact, thanks in part to the local press's willingness to overlook his personal life. They loved him as the hometown hero who brought fame to Memphis. Elvis was good at managing these relationships, but it came at a cost to those close to him, especially Priscilla, who struggled to find her place in his world.